Fathers Who Bother is made possible in part by the contributions of listeners like you. To support Fathers Who Bother, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fathers Who Bother and become a monthly subscriber today. On the next episode of Fathers Who Bother, I talk to MC and educator Substantial about his new children's book, She Sees, inspired by his two daughters, how he parents differently from his dad, why his wife is the realest, and what it means to be dedicated and driven. Check it out. Welcome to Fathers Who Bother, a podcast for men who are dad as we want to be. I'm your host, Jerry Barrow. My next guest is a native of Prince George's County, Maryland. He is an MC, producer, artist, educator, and author. Say that 5 times fast. He debuted in 2000, collaborating with late Japanese producer Nuwabis, who later worked on the popular show Samurai Champloo. As a solo artist, he's released over 8 studio albums, including Sacrifice and Home is Where the Art Is, and collaborative works like Happy Fuck You Songs, The Past, and Dirty Sneakers. In 2019, Substantial wrote and produced music featured in the video game Renee, am I pronouncing that right? To be released on the Nintendo Switch and the South Korean online game Tree of Savior. As an educator, he has spent over 20 years teaching and working as a youth advocate in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and New York. He currently teaches music business classes at the Omega Studio School of Applied Recording Arts and Sciences in Rockville, Maryland. But today we are going to talk about his new children's book, She Sees, a Black father's observation of the world through the eyes of his 2 young daughters, and the accompanying a soundtrack for fatherhood. Please welcome Substantial to the podcast.
Peace, family. Hey, real quick though, it's Nujabes.
Nujabes. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been saying it wrong all this time.
No worries. It happens all the time, man. It happens all the time.
Oh man, I definitely love his music though. He was incredible, man. When he and Dilla are always talked about in like side A and side B.
Yeah, born the same day, same year.
Yeah. So if you don't know his work, definitely go check that out. How did you meet him? How did you guys link up?
Yeah. It happened while I was living in Brooklyn, New York, where I was attending Pratt Institute. And I had a friend at Pratt who was from Japan. Shout out to my man Tomo, who also goes by Sphere of Influence, used to be signed to Def Jam Japan. And yeah, man, so we were friends in school, would hang out, go to the studio together because he also rapped. His brother was a famous rapper named Zebra out in Japan. And long story short, he goes back to Japan for the summer, takes a mixtape that I was on that was put together by DJ Biscuit, who now go by Bisco Smith, famous artist. And like, dude, I get a call out of the blue. And I'm like fresh off work, so I'm tired. And this thick accent, I'm thinking it's one of my friends trying to be funny or something. So I almost hang up the phone. And he was just like, nah, man, I heard your stuff on this mixtape and I really like what you do and I want to do some songs with you. And he told me, he was like, yo, you send me a demo. If I like what I hear, man, I'll fly you out to Japan. We'll work on an album, send you a contract, all that good stuff. And so I took him up on it. And the rest is history.
Man. So we caught up during you talked about funny friends. I became aware during the QN5 days when y'all was doing some wild.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to all them crazy fools of QN5, Tone Deaf, and Pat.
Yeah.
And
my brothers.
Yeah, crazy times. I can't believe it's been damn near 20 years.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Time flies, bro.
Time flies, but you've been keeping busy, super busy.
Yeah,
and,
man.
Part of that is being the dad to 2 lovely young ladies. So
I'm
going to start. When did you first find out that you were going to be a dad?
Yeah, man. It was the very, I want to say either the very end of 2007 or the very beginning, might have been the very beginning of 2008, actually. So probably not too far from my birthday, my wife and I's birthday. We're both Capricorn. So yeah, man, it was exciting, man, because, I was one of those guys who actually had a plan and was just like, look, we get married, we get this house, and then we had these babies. And we got the house in December 2007, and my wife was like, "You ready?" Because I'm ready for these babies. she was ready. So yeah, man. But it was super exciting, man. I think all of us, or at least a lot of us, may be a little apprehensive at first because it's a big like, dude, it's one thing you babysitting, right? Even a teacher, because you give them back. You give them back. You got the kids for a little bit, you give them back. And all you got to do is make sure they have all the same digits that they had when they go back. They got both eyes. You good. You're good. But when they're yours, man, it's a different level of responsibility. So I was nervous. I was really, really nervous, and even with my experience in education and working with kids all the time, it's still like, I didn't take it lightly. So it was exciting though, man. It was a blessing.
What was that girl dad life for you, man? What was that
Oh
like?
man, dude, it's amazing, man. And I really feel like my life as an educator prepped me for it, because for whatever reason, man, like working with young men, some of them are a bit more vocal about what they're going through, but a lot of them aren't. Like they just kind of observe, right? They're watching you. They'll interact with you, some surface level stuff sometimes, and then you got to kind of work to get to that deeper level with them. I feel like it's a bit more work, kind of getting to that point with young men. But like with young women that I work with, man, like I didn't have to ask too many questions, bro. And they just pour it all out, just share everything, their experience, how they felt about life, wasn't scared to ask me questions. And I think they found it easier to talk to me because of the fact, I got 5 sisters. So growing up in a house full of women and really kind of being able to see the world through their eyes and what their experiences were, doesn't make me better than any other dude. I was still doing a lot of the same stupid stuff that dudes were doing. But it just made me have, like, I think, man, we typically write off some of the things that women do, and we just, oh, they crazy, or that's just how they built, or that, but when you're just in it, like I had no break. There's no break in my life from women being in the home. You know what I mean? Like I was a single mom, raised me. Then my sisters, and then I get married and I have 2 daughters. So like my whole life has just been a house full of women. So yeah, so I feel like, between working as an educator and between what my experience in life was, I was equipped to handle it. And I feel like I got more patience too with young women. I think dudes, there's that part of us because of how some of us were raised, that when a young man or like a younger guy in your family does something, like, at least for me, I speak for myself, my instant feeling when they do something stupid is I want to put hands on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. What are you doing, son? You know what I mean? Like, come on, son. You know what I mean? Like instantly, like, with my nephews, that was the response a couple times, you know what I mean? I'll shake you, boy. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna go across your chin, but I'm like this close, so I'm gonna just shake you and hold you tight and try to help you understand. Yeah, and like with daughters, like, yo, I don't have those moments, you know what I mean? And it's part of my upbringing too, like that. That's not how I was raised to interact with women. Yeah. And no one really had that conversation with me in terms of how to interact with men that wasn't physical and hands, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, but dude, listen, I mean, I can't do it all over again, but if I could do it all over again, listen, if I ended up with the exact same thing I'm blessed with now, like without a doubt, I open arms, bro. Like it's been the greatest experience of my life. You know what I mean? Hands down,
Yeah, we got Father's Day coming up. Every day is Father's Day here, but you got anything they planned for you yet that you know about, or is it going to be a surprise?
I mean, the ladies always do something really sweet for me, man. So I'm excited to see what they come up with this year. But the only thing that I know I'm considering doing is going out to demo day that they do in the DMV. That's this company called Surf the Capital. and the homie Javier Starks, who he's like the number one wheel rider in the world for distance, over 27,000 miles on a one wheel. And so
a
him
one
and
wheel?
yeah, one wheel. It's like an electronic skateboard, like it's just this board with a go-kart wheel in the middle.
Okay.
And yeah. So I've actually been taking lessons, and he lets me borrow it from time to time. So I'm learning how to ride. Because I used to have a thing for skateboarding when I was really, really young.
Okay.
And so yeah, man, it's dope. It's dope. So I'm looking forward to doing that, going to the park, you know what I mean? Bust my ass a few times, have a good time, dude, you know, and see what the ladies got in store.
Do your daughters skate, ride, anything? How old are they?
Oh man, my oldest daughter is 12, and my youngest daughter is 3. You know,
Ooh,
so
that's a fun age. 3 is fun.
Yeah,
they can actually
absolutely
tell you what they want now. Like, they're still cute, but they can articulate you, like, I'm hungry. Like those early years are hard because they just crying.
Yes.
And you just gotta figure out what we cry means. But by 3, they can say no.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And see, but my youngest, man, oh my goodness. I feel like whoever she dates when she get older, I'm hoping she breaks out of certain things she's doing now. Cause I mean, she's young enough. She got time.
Right.
But listen, you know how like people say, how like, oh, like it's hard. It's like we're struggling with communication because you say one thing, but you mean something else. So last night, put her to bed, and she's like, Daddy, I don't want the light. I don't want the light. And then I cut the light on. No, Daddy, no. I'm like, wait, well, hold on. So I cut it back on. No, Dad. I'm like, oh my God, I'm running out of options, kid. It's on or off. Those are your options. So she has a habit of saying no to things she really wants. And I think it's, it's like, I think the program, like there's something where she's really trying to tell you she wants it, but like, but I don't know. I think she's just inclined to say no for everything first. it's hilarious, man. It's hilarious.
Her boundaries, and then you gotta figure it out.
yeah. You definitely, man. Listen, shout out to whoever is blessed enough to date her someday, because it's gonna be, man. If this is what you got in store, boy, it's like, wait, so am I doing it, or I'm going? Am I leaving? What am I doing? You know what I mean? Like,
is it a particular kind of light? Does she want a night light, maybe? I'm just trying to think.
Man, look, see that was the struggle. So I cut off all of the lights in the room, right? And then she says, I don't want a light, right? She says that before, and I cut off the light. And then she's like, no, Daddy. And I'm like, okay, so you do want a light? And then she's like, no. And I'm like, I don't. So then I'm like, okay, she probably wants the night light, right? Like, in other words, I want all the lights off except the night light. So I go cut the night light off, and she's like, no, Daddy, no. And I'm like, okay. And then I go to the hallway. I was like, you want the hallway light on? She's like, yes, Daddy. I'm like, okay, all right, yeah. So it's levels, bro. Just understand. She wants a light, but she's saying no to all these other lights, not all the lights, but she just couldn't remember what to call the hallway lights. So yeah.
Hilarious. That's that trial and error you got as a parent, man. You just gotta you figured it out though. So clap for that, man.
Not a quitter, bro. I'm here for the long haul.
You ain't got a choice, because she ain't gonna go to sleep until you get it right. So it's like,
man.
All right, we gotta solve this problem.
Yeah, because you sit down on that couch and it's the Daddy. The second you sit down, get your show ready, all the stuff you couldn't watch before they went to bed.
Right.
Yeah, bro. So you got to get that light situated.
So I have a 12-year-old like you. My daughter's 12.
Dope.
My son's 18.
Wow.
How did you guys deal with the shelter in place and the pandemic this last year?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been challenging, man. The biggest challenge we had was with with our youngest. And that's mainly because because we didn't fully understand like how bad the situation was. We were really trying to like figure out like, okay, listen, I know the daycare is saying that they're doing this and they're doing that, but there's not a whole lot of information about how badly this is affecting young kids. And then I'm high risk because I got asthma. So, we just weren't trying to risk it. So we ultimately pulled her out of daycare literally 4 months after we finally put her in daycare. And this is right as quick as we just got an office for our business, you know, and just a lot of things popping, like, you know, for our company. And so, you know, trying to transition to having her back at home and cutting into a lot of our work time and also our personal time was definitely challenging. Our oldest daughter, you know, she's very much a homebody and stuff. Like, she don't do insects and stuff. So not having to go outside a lot and all of that was right. She's like, look, yeah. I got these games. I got a phone. I can call my friends. We can hop on a little, you know, little FaceTime. I'm good, Dad. I'll be all right, Dad. Yep. We can stay home, do this distance learning. That's absolutely fine. So she's been good, and her grades actually went up with the distance learning. So you know, it's always tough watching the news because a lot of times it's kind of like they pick and choose what they're going to report, right? Like, they don't give the whole story. They just kind of focus in on one side of it. And so a lot of the reports are just talking about how kids are struggling, and they are a ridiculous amount struggling. But yeah, mine was one of the few who actually her grades went up, no pun intended, but substantially. So that was awesome. But yeah, man, we here. You know, the best part is actually being stuck in the house with people you really like, you know, and not everybody was blessed to have that situation either. That's true. So yeah, man, we count our blessings. I joke with my wife every time we see something wild on TV with a couple. I'm like, yo, don't ever leave me. I ain't built for with all this crazy shit outside. I can't. I can't. Don't ever leave me. Don't ever leave me.
I'm 20 years in. I ain't dealing with none of these crazy people out here. I'm like, it's you and me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Stuck with me.
Every time I look at Twitter and I see people arguing about who to date, how to date, how much to spend on a date, I said, I am not to say we don't have our issues, but I'm glad I don't have those problems.
Yeah, man.
I'm not built for those problems anymore. Like, would you? Somebody just tweeted about somebody having an air mattress on the floor.
Yeah.
Would you date somebody that sleeps on an air mattress? I'm like, I don't have to answer that question.
Man, listen. Listen, man, look, my wife, the realest, man. When I was in fact, when I was in talks with Nujabes to do the whole Japan thing, right after that period of time, was one of the hardest periods of time in my life, post living with my mom. And that was, you know, like after college, I didn't have a place to live for a grip, like for maybe at least it was like a 2 or 3 month period where I was like couch surfing and like just crashing at friends' houses, sleeping on their floor, whatever. And my wife had family in Brooklyn. She could have crashed with them, but like we were just dating. We were serious, but she chose to stay with me, dude. Like, so whatever friends, you know, extra bed I slept on or floor I slept on, yo, she was right there. So, you know what I mean? So when I see people talking about all these, I'm like, look, man, I ain't letting her go nowhere, because I already know, like, if she show up and this is what the situation is, like we've been through worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So yeah,
that's what happens when you date people you like.
Yeah, that's real.
A lot of those questions that are brought up on Twitter would be solved by actually dating people you actually like.
That's real. That's real.
Because you wouldn't care if they're on an air mattress or not, if you really like
it.
You know?
Right.
So where were you career-wise when your first daughter came around?
Yeah, man. That's a great question. I was doing a lot of stuff still with QM5 and actually touring heavily with Cunning Linguists as support for them. You know, a lot of the Strange Journey tours and stuff like that. And I forget the name of the other record, the one with the black and white, like sepia tonish cover. But yeah, man, was just touring heavy with them. So like literally when my first daughter was born, 3 weeks after she was born, I was on the road for almost 30 days. So like four weeks with them. So that was rough. That whole year was like that. Like before she was born, my wife was 5.5 months. We were 5.5 months then. And I was on a West Coast tour with them. So I was gone. I had my nephew staying with my wife just to help her out and stuff because I wasn't there. And then, like I said, that tour went right after she was born. Then when she was 6 months, yeah, I was gone again, like for a month. Like, so it was a lot of that. And so yeah, man, it was definitely rough. That was one of the toughest things I remember. And I think that's part of the reason why that first year of being a parent was so difficult, just because I felt like I was watching my child grow up through a phone. And like, and every time, because you know how it is when they're really young, they look so different. Like a couple months makes a huge difference in their physical appearance.
Yep.
So I left home, and 4 weeks I come back and she looks completely different. And then I'm gone again, and like y'all come back, and I go through these periods where she is like, she doesn't recognize me and stuff. And my smell isn't familiar to her because I've been gone. And then I'm in these smoky clubs. So it's because I had locks back then. It's like, you know, at least a week of washing my hair to get the tour smoke out of my head, man. It's just, yeah, it was rough, dude. It was really, it's part of the reason why I don't tour as much now. You know, just, you know, like I enjoy being with my family. So it's like, if I ain't got to be on the road and I can find other ways to make money and stuff, and do the music I love, then, you know, like there has to be a better way, right?
Right. So your oldest, what does she think of daddy's music?
Oh man, she one of my biggest fans. She say her favorite rappers are me and Lupe. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, okay, all right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know, and then like, and she's like, and maybe Nas. You know what I mean? I'm like,
she said maybe Nas. Wow.
right. Looking at him like, who are you? God bless you. Thank you. Need you. It's like, if you had a Twitter account, you could tweet that. That, you know, Daddy would appreciate that. Yeah, man. But she likes the music and stuff. You know, I've been lucky where I get a decent amount of love amongst like anime fans and just like, you know, fellow nerds and stuff like that. So I get to do, you know, like a lot of cons and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so cons are dope because I don't know, like, you know, I don't always get to take her to all of my shows and stuff, but the cons, I get to bring the whole family. So that's been really, really dope. So she gets to see the shows and stuff. I see her singing along. She'll post up either backstage or like, you know, like really close in the crowd. And yeah, man, it's super dope. Well, when she was younger, she was a beast at the merch table, yo. Like signing merch. Yeah, if I got an album where the past is always present in the future. She's on the album cover. Okay. And so when I would sign it, she had her Sharpie sitting right next to me, like, yep, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and pass that down. Keep passing them down, Daddy. You know?
That's so, dope. That raises the value to me. Shoot, you got the sign from the artist and his daughter who's featured on the cover.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, she's really proud of, you know, what I've been able to do and all of that, and being able to see it firsthand. It's been dope, you know.
Did you actually do a shoot for that cover, or you just take a picture you already had and kind of make it?
No, like so that's a great question. So I actually had a shoot scheduled, and then the photographer had an emergency and had to back out. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my man Nick, childhood friend of mine who's a really dope photographer. And yeah, so when that happened, the cool thing is the thing that Nick and I have in common is before I went to Pratt, I went to a visual performing arts school with him. So like we were in the same photography classes. So I know my way around the camera, you know, so when he couldn't make it, man, I already, you know, I had the concepts and everything I wanted to do already mapped out. So y'all just rearranged the living room, got all the lighting that we already had, and created the effect. It was basically like recreating my first album cover, but with my daughter, and then my wife and my hands on her shoulders. And so yeah, man, I did it myself. And then next morning, got up, butt crack of dawn, got up on the roof of the building, and it overlooks the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, where you can see PG County, even though where I live is right on the Virginia line now. And so, yeah, man, then I just woke up, got that photo, and then I meshed the two photos together to create that image, you know?
Look at you. Look at God.
Look at God. Won't he do it?
Won't he do it? So kind of like me, you had a gap between between the girls because
Mm-hmm.
it's 9 years. So
Mm-hmm.
where were things when your second daughter came around? Like how different was life?
Yeah, yeah. I was a little hesitant, just mainly because things were a bit more difficult than I anticipated when we had our first daughter. Um, like I was really trying to make the transition into being like a full-time musician years ago. And it was difficult. It was extremely difficult. I hadn't really figured out the passive income thing yet. And so, like when money's tight and you got a baby and you got a wife, like, you start making, you figure out some other choices you can make that, ultimately means you're going to have to sacrifice some of the things you love doing most. And so I found a way to kind of juggle the education, the career in education and music. But I really, I just really started questioning because at one point when I was younger, I wanted like 3 or 4 kids. But then after we had the first, there were just so many challenges that we didn't anticipate, from the house to the baby to, just some of the stuff going on with the family, that I really just was like, I don't know. I don't know if we need to have another one, and especially when things start going really well and you feel like everything, we got everything we need. You know what I'm saying? All we need is us. You know what I mean? And the other thing for me too, initially, I didn't really feel like anything was missing. You know what I mean? But my wife and I would talk about it. And then my oldest daughter was, she was my only daughter at the time. She would bring it up about having a sister, another sibling and stuff. And, and the people would be like, yeah, only child and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, shut up. And so, yeah, man, but it wasn't necessarily my wife that convinced me that we should do it. It was some other educators, man. I was on this training and I was and there was one brother who was a single father, and it was just a bunch of men who were super involved in their children's lives, man. And just having conversation with them, and really kind of letting them know where I was, and was just like, yo, I just feel like I need to talk to somebody who's not a woman, who can kind of understand my concerns and really either confirm what I'm feeling or just be like, nah, man, you ain't got nothing to worry about, And yeah, man, these brothers, man, they lifted me up, man. They really, really did. So I came home, told my wife, I was like, yeah, we good. And and she looked at me sideways like, yeah, but I thought you said. And I was like, nah, I'm good now. I'm good. I promise you I'm good. I talked to these guys and, and really just kind of had time to reflect and I felt like I was ready. And so fast forward, we get confirmation maybe 5 days before I leave to go on tour in Europe that we were pregnant. And when I got to Europe, I chopped it up with the homie Funky DL. Shout out to him. Good dude, man. Great dude. And I'm just chopping it up with him, man. And one of the things I learned while I was staying with him, I stayed with him for like a week, slept on his couch, and he was just watching him do his thing. And I was like, bro, you don't tour much, man. He's like, nah, fam. Like if they ain't paying XYZ, like I'm not leaving my home. You know what I mean? He's like, yo, I make this amount of money whether I go out the door or not. So I have no reason to really go on tour like that to promote a release based on the numbers I do. And so when he said that, and I was like, teach me, son. I was like, teach me, dog. Because there's something I'm not doing right. Because everybody telling me this is the way to do it. And I'm just looking at the amount of money that got to go out the door in order to do it this way. And this doesn't make sense to me. And so, he just gave me so many gems. And then the main thing I stressed to him was I was just like, look, I remember what it was like when I had my first daughter and how I was gone all the time. And I really don't want to do that again. So, me figuring out this passive income thing will allow me to be home more. And that's when I made the transition to really focusing more on the production side, just getting my production skills up and not necessarily trying to get my beats on projects, but really being able to put out instrumental stuff. And, yeah, man. And so I came back home, gave my wife the plan that I got, like A month later, we started our company, Substantial Art and Music. A month after that, you know, I was on my West Coast tour with Marcus D and Greenspan. And yo, like, just, you know, it took the whole family with me because I was trying to stick with that whole not being away from them more than I needed to thing.
Right.
And man, a few months after that, I started putting out instrumentals. And the following year, man, I had 2 that landed on major playlists, and it drastically changed the amount of passive income I was making with the beats. And so I hit the job with, it's like, I'm out. I was like, I'm out, because I needed more time to be able to focus on that side of things so I could keep building that momentum. And here we are, you know.
Is that what led to like the video game placements and stuff, or
that side of it came more from, you know, like doing more of the conventions. You know, it's something like doing music for anime and video games and all of that was something I wanted to do back when I was like 15, 16 years old. That was like the first time I actually spoke that into the universe. I was watching Ghost in the Shell. I sampled something from Ghost in the Shell, and I was like, man, it'd be dope if I could do music for video, for anime. And so I started going to these cons because Nujabes had worked on Samurai Champloo, and my nephew had put me on, was just like, man, you should come to this convention with me, Uncle Stan. And I went with him, and as we walked in, a few people recognized me, and he just whispers in my ear. My nephew was like, you know, it's like, it's a bunch of people in these spaces who know who you are. He's like, I go to this stuff all the time, and Samurai Champloo will come up in conversation. And when they talk about Nujabes, he's like, oh man, that dude did my uncle whole first album, right? And he's like, people look at him like he crazy, like, no, you know? And so when he started getting me to go with him to the joints, I realized, I'm like, one, it was just a dope experience because, you know, I'm from that era where, like, you know, I'm a nerd, but I couldn't go too hard with it because, you know, I lived in a rough neighborhood. So it's just like, unless I felt like fighting all the time, you know what I mean? I had to be reserved about it. You know what I'm saying? You know? And so, yeah, but being at those cons was just so freeing. But then on top of that, like, I realized really quickly that I had an audience there. And because, you know, outside of the Samurai Champloo stuff, everything Nujabes, every album Nujabes has ever put out, I'm on. You know what I mean? And his debut album, I'm literally on the first track, you know, the first voice you hear on it. So yeah, man, we just really kind of turned those spaces into a place to network and create opportunities. And then I met the homie Mason Lieberman at the end of 2017. And he is now, he works for Tencent as their senior game audio manager. So he was just getting a ridiculous amount of work already doing stuff. And then he just would pass opportunities to me, man, after we met. Like, as quick as I met him, a few weeks later, he already had a game opportunity for me. So, yeah, shout out to him. And that just kind of just, you know, snowball effect, man. It's just been crazy. Like, I did like maybe 7 games, 5 to 7 games last year, songs for it. So, yeah, man.
So now you've been able to combine the home life and the artistic life into this these 2 projects, the book and then the accompanying soundtrack. So
yes.
Talk to me first about In My Daughter's Eyes. When you recorded that, what inspired it, because it's a beautiful song.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, so the first song was on the 2017 album, The Past is Always Present in the Future. That was the first version. And then when we found out we were expecting, you know, we basically made the announcement, right? Like, I went live on my Substantial Sundays thing I used to do. And we made the announcement that we were expecting. And one of the fans was like, man, you should do a part 2 to In My Daughter's Eyes and just move the apostrophe. And I was like, oh, you're a genius. I was like, oh man, shout out. I believe it was this fan, he raps too, a dude named Advis. Shout out to him. Really good guy, man. But yeah, man, he said that, and I remembered. I was like, oh, I'm going to definitely do that. And so fast forward, I started getting the production up. I found it. I made a beat that I really felt was like perfect for it, and what I knew I wanted the biggest difference between this version and the original version to be was really capturing like my daughter's world, right? Like, so I had my oldest daughter come in the studio with me and really just write down a bunch of different things that she feels like she sees in the world, right? Like from us to her experience. And then I was like, okay, now, obviously your sister can't talk yet. So what do you think she sees? What is her experiences, right? And so then she wrote that stuff down. And then I just kind of added some additional notes. And then I took that and used that to write the song. And I slowed it down a bit. I made it less wordy than the original version, just to kind of pace it a little bit differently. And so, yeah, man, and that's really how it came about,
And so when did it occur to you to expand upon that and say, you know what, this should be a book?
Yeah, my wife, man, shout out to Mrs. Robinson. Rochelle is dope. She basically was in the car with me. And we were listening to the song. And after the song went off, she was like, yo, this could be a book. And I kind of gave her the side eye. And then she explained what she was thinking. She was like, yeah, it could be a children's book. How you keep saying like, she sees this, she sees that, blah, blah, blah. Like the rhythm that you're creating with that. She's like, I think that could be a really dope children's book. And so when she said that, we started brainstorming a bit. And I believe either right before we had that conversation or not too long after, I met Luna Bunny, Miera Nelson at a convention out in Detroit. And she's like somebody who's been a fan for a long time and stuff. And, was creating like different art that was really dope and was gifting it to me and some of the other artists I was out there with. Shout out to IQ, shout out to Mega Ran, K Murdoch, all of them. NPC Collective. But yeah, and so we kept in touch. So when my wife gave me the idea, I was like, yo, check this artist stuff out. We were talking about her, and we were talking about this other artist I'm friends with called Katie Fox, who's really talented too. And we decided that probably for the children's book, that Luna Bunny stuff would probably be more fitting. Even though I'm still working on stuff with Katie Fox as well for a manga that she's putting out. And so anyway, yeah, we reached out, and at that time she had never done anything like that. So this was her first time doing like a full book as opposed to like caricatures of people and other characters that she was developing. And so she took a bit of convincing, right? Like it wasn't that I really respect that about her because of the fact she wasn't fully comfortable with like just taking our money to do it. She really was just like, yo, yeah, let me think about it because I really haven't done this before. And this seems like a lot. And, and I just really want to do it justice. And so we kind of gave her some space, and top of the year, this year came, and my wife was like, yeah, so if we doing this book for Father's Day or not, what we doing? I'm saying? Straight bully foot. Like, what we doing, son? And I was like, yo, I'm with it. Cause I created the manuscript. I finally had finished that. And we circled back, hit up Luna Bunny, and Luna Bunny hit us with the, I'm ready now. I was like, oh, word. Nice. So contract, and the rest is history.
It's a beautiful book too. And
thank you, brother.
You have music accompanying it. One of the songs you released, Dedicated and Driven.
Word to my girls, it's y'all world. How will you shape it when they square up? Best step up, make it, don't break it. This for y'all and all the daddies that didn't have one at home. Swore they be better at it once blessed with kids of their own.
Yes.
Really love that one. Talk to me about that one.
Thank you, man. Out here repping, you know what I'm saying? Out here
repping.
I
see the shirt. For
yeah, man.
Not watching, if you're listening only, he's got the Dedicated and Driven dad shirt, which is super fly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Where can we get one of those shirts?
It's available on my Bandcamp page, substantial.bandcamp.com/merch, or our company site in our store. You go to subartandmusic.com/store. But yeah, they are available. And the dope thing is, if you get the shirt from Bandcamp, it comes with the album as well. You know what I mean? And I got dad hats that say Dedicated and Driven. So yeah, we had to do dad hats. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Right? But yeah, man. So that song came about. I was in the middle of several projects. Like I'm working on my next album. I'm working on this mostly instrumental album for Katie Fox for her manga. and other collaborations. But then I just get the idea when we were putting stuff together for the book. I was like, yo, I should do a Father's Day project. Like just a father, just a fatherhood themed project to co-promote with the book. I think those two things together would be even more powerful than just the book by itself. And so, so I ran about a missus, and she was like, you ain't about to make all new songs for. I was like, no. I was like, I got enough songs in the catalog where I've already talked about fatherhood and my experience where I can pull all of these different songs into the project. And then maybe I just add 3 new songs to give people a reason to check it out if they're hardcore supporters. And so there's an instrumental on there, and then there's one song that I leaked from my upcoming album called Adulting. And that song is called Make It Home. But Dedicated and Driven, man, when I made the beat, oh my God, when I made that beat, I was in this joint like, oh yeah, I'm about to have fun with this. I was really, really proud of that beat when I made it. And so then I came up and I struggled with getting the chorus. And I had a very different vision of how the song was going to go at first. Like I was really thinking like just blackout verse, long verse. But then when I finally got the chorus right, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna need to say this multiple times. You know what I'm saying? Because I really like the hook. And but yo, in the midst of me working on all of this stuff, all this fatherhood themed content, a homie of mine passed away, my man Eric L. Powell Sr. And that dude, man, like, oh my God, man, really, really, really great dude, man, really great human being. I met him through like different events, live shows and stuff like that. And his son is a local hip hop artist named ELPJ. And besides his son being extremely talented, he's a brilliant young dude, like really brilliant young dude. Man of the year at the school he went to, like all of these different accolades, right? And so, yeah, man, this was always really cool with them. We'll see them at different events. Me and the father, me and Eric became friends and stuff. So he texts me from time to time, like if I wasn't at an event, like he see one of the homies performing, like, yo, where you at? And we either talking hip hop or kids, man. That was it. It was like, how your kids doing? What you been listening to? That was always the conversation. And so when I found out that he lost his battle with COVID, it was right around the time I was working on this stuff. So I definitely wanted to honor him because he's an amazing dad, man. I still got a video on my phone of him playing something from one of my old albums and stuff. He wasn't playing it. He walked in while his daughter was doing homework and she was playing it. And yeah, man, they, just a beautiful family, man. And so I just wanted to really pay tribute to him because he's an amazing father, really amazing father. And contrary to what the narrative says about like Black men and fatherhood, like all of the homies I know, and I got a lot of friends, and all of these dudes are amazing dads, man. Like really, really take pride in being fathers, and even the ones who aren't with the mother of their children, like the co-parenting and just present and like going through the system, how like a lot of folks have to sometimes to really get the get that shared custody and not just be an ATM without having any real interaction. Right. Yeah, man. So I really wanted to celebrate all the dudes I know because they're all of these guys are contrary to what the media would like a lot of folks to believe about Black fathers. And it's dope because I feel like I'm seeing it change. Mm-hmm. As I've become a father, I've been watching the narrative slowly change and seeing more like, fathers being celebrated and stuff. And it's dope, man. It's dope.
I really like the book. And there was a line, I meant to write it down, but I forgot, but it was where you talked about beauty. And it was she's beautiful whether she's clothed or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. I was like, How important was that to convey specifically to two young girls?
Yeah.
You know?
She sees beauty. She see beauty can be fully clothed or undressed.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, and that, you know, that line was like, there's layers to it, right? Where it's like, you know, you see the two young girls, like, you know, like long sleeves, long, you know, dressed modestly, right? While my wife looked like she's about to go out, you know what I mean? Like, so she got her shoulders out. I'm like, okay, shoulders, all right, show up, shoulders, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, and it has a shorter skirt on, but like doesn't, you know, it's, I like, no, regardless of what my kids are wearing, they're beautiful. You know what I mean? Regardless of what my wife wears, she's beautiful, right? And then that also ties into faith and stuff as well, because, you know, we have friends who are Muslim, and they've invited us to different events and stuff over the years, man. And I remember going to this New Year's celebration in Baltimore. And it was my first time going to like a party / event that was just ran by like Muslim brothers and sisters, right? And hey man, like I was like, hey, I really feel underdressed, bro. Like y'all did it up like all the way. And I feel like I grew up in an environment where a lot of times when women would go to these events, they will wear a bit less and they'd be beautiful, right? But walking into this event where I'm seeing these women, they are fully covered, but the way they're styling it though, it's like, they are equally as beautiful as, you know, any woman I've seen that had a lot less on, right? And you know, and I just want to convey that to them all the time, just helping them understand that, like, you know, you're going to be judged no matter what you do, but just understand, like, whatever way you decide to go, you're still beautiful. You know what I mean?
I love it. What do your daughters think of the book?
Oh man, they love it, man. My youngest, you know, we read to her every night when she goes to bed. So, you know, since we've received the proof, like we're waiting on the full order of books that we pressed up should be arriving any day now. But like when we got the proof, man, like we've been reading it to her every other day. Like since then, you know, we ask her to pick which book she wants, and she loves it. You know what I mean? And she loves pointing out, seeing like you know, who's who, and when she sees the smoothie shop, that actually is our friend's smoothie shop in PG. She every time she sees it, she's like, smoothies, because we go there all the time. So like she loves it, man. And then my oldest daughter, she's super proud of it as well. She has her own YouTube channel, and we did a video today. And before we were getting started, she was like, "Yeah, Dad, before we go, we gotta make sure you promote the book." I was like, I appreciate you. It was like, all right, little hustler. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. So they're both proud of it, man. It's super dope. You know,
I got to find a way to link you with Mac Wiles, because he has a book club for his daughter,
dope.
Tristan's book club. I think that's
wow.
I think that's the Instagram too, because he's a new dad. She's like
nice.
a year. She's just a year or so.
Wow.
But he and his wife have a book club for her, so we got to find a way to coordinate and synergize all that good shit.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely send them a copy, man.
Yeah, okay. I'll make we'll offline that. But as you were saying that, I was like, you know what? Let's try and make that happen.
Appreciate it, man.
So you mentioned earlier you were raised by a single mother. Did you did you know your father at all, or no?
Yeah. Yeah, so initially they were together, and were living together for at least the first 4 to 5 years of my life. But I vaguely remember like certain moments where things got challenging. Like I feel like one of my earliest memories is of my mom waking me up in the middle of the night, or like super early in the morning when it was still dark, and us sneaking out and leaving. And and then I remember us getting living in a new place, and we were there by ourselves for a little bit, but then eventually they got back together, and you know, and then I remember them falling out again, and it was like extremely violent. Like my mom pulled a knife, like they got my dad up out of there. He was like bleeding, and we had to barricade the door. Like I remember that. And so fast forward that, I think that was by the time I was 5 when he was out. And then maybe about 4 years go by before I see him again. And so I'm like 9. He comes back. You know, I'm super happy and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's one of them things that because I'm still young, like I remember some of that stuff. But and even though he was, you know, I'll get into how intimidating this dude was in a second, but my initial reaction is I'm just happy to see my dad, right? And so so I found out they're trying to work things out. He's staying and all of that. But then I come home from school one day, and then that's when they tell me that my father has esophageal cancer, right? And so you know, like him and my mom or whatever, we're deciding to try to work things out, keep him there, and you know, her helping him through that process and stuff. But my dad though, man, he was a very intimidating person. Like he was, when he was healthy, probably like 6'2", 6'3", maybe 240. And so you know, people in the neighborhood were very intimidated by my father. And, you know, my uncle, if you let him tell it, like he tell you the stories of all of like the wild, like real gangster shit, like they were involved in, like, you know, like no movie stuff. Like, you know, they were out here, really out here, right. And in Baltimore. And so anyway, my experiences with him in terms of like discipline, man, were like, you know, for lack of a better word, just frightening. Like he was a scary dude. Like when man, I got my ass whooped for not hanging my pants up properly. You know what I mean? Like if the inseams didn't line up, like I call hands. You know, and so just real aggressive. And probably outside of him just being overly aggressive and physically, like one time, man, I was so scared of this dude. This is both a messed up story and a funny story. I got in trouble for forging my mom's signature on my progress report. Ooh. And so they called the house, and I look at what time they're calling, and I was like, yo, my mom ain't gonna pick up the phone because she watching the stories.
It was on some house party shit.
Yo,
you was trying to take the phone off the hook like kids.
Yo, look, yo. So like, you know, I'm looking at when the teacher's calling, and I'm like, nah, yo, she called this time. My dad gonna pick up because my dad wasn't working at this point. Okay. So, yo, I just kept saying, I was like, yo, please let my mom, like, I don't know if the teacher saw me, but my eyes are closed and I'm just praying. I'm like, come on, Jesus. Come on, Allah. Come on, Oprah. Somebody, anybody. You know what I mean? Like, yo, please let mom pick up the phone. And I could hear his deep ass voice, right? Hello. As soon as I heard that shit, I was like, oh, nigga, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead to the world. So, yo, they sent me home early and everything. Put me on you remember kindergarten used to be like half day. Like they had, I don't know if it was like that in your area, but yes. So they sent my ass home on the half day kindergarten bus.
What grade were you in?
Was that 4th grade? Yeah, because that's the year my yeah. Goodness. So they sent me home on the kindergarten bus that went to take the kids home early in the day. And yo, man, I get to the house and you know. And then, of course, by the time I get there, my mom ain't even there. So it's just him. And I'm dude, I am scared. People were so scared of my dad. Like, yo, neighbors, like kids that I knew in the neighborhood, when my dad came back, they stopped knocking on the door and they would knock on my window. That's how frightening, like, my dad was a scary dude, man. Like, you know, my dad, one time, somebody touched my sister's ass. She came in the house crying and mad. Yo, he was literally bucking at the dude broad daylight. And my dad was on some wild cowboy shit, bro. Like it was real. So, you know, like I remember sitting on the couch and like feeling his gun like up under the couch seat. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it was real, man. But so anyway, I come in the house, I'm opening the door slow as shit. I'm like, maybe you taking a nap. You know what I'm saying? Like just praying this. It's like, so I open the door slow, that shit, like every noise it can make. Then I close it off gently. I look in the living room, I don't see him. I'm like, all right. And then I look in the kitchen, I don't see him. Oh, as soon as I get by the kitchen, my room right there. And then it's him and my mom room. So I get right to my door. I opened my door slowly, and he's like, Stan, get your ass in here. And I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. Bro. Man, I go in there, bro, and he used to work on model cars. So he working on the model car, and he had these big-ass hands. He had what my uncle used to call his hands African soup bones. That's what he would call it. He was like, yo, he working on this model car, these small ass pieces with these African soup bowls, boy, just doing his thing. And he would get irritated because I would work on a model car with him every now and then, and he would get so frustrated working with the small pieces. So when I see him doing that, I'm like, oh, my ass is gonna get torn up because he mad about that, and he mad I'm home early. Oh boy, I'm about to die. I'm about to die. You know what I mean? So yo, like he asked me what happened. I start telling him where he's sitting. And this is, I'm telling this shit, no filler, bro. I'm just giving you the truth, right? Everything that happened. Where he's sitting, there's a window behind him, right? One of those slim windows in the apartment. Hey, bro, as I'm talking, he stands up. Remember, I tell you, he's a big dude. When he stands up, he's blocking the window. So the room gets dark. Like in real life, like the room get dark. Hey, dog, real shit, I passed out. I passed out. Yeah, listen, man, I passed out. I hit my head. We lived on the bottom floor, so that floor was concrete under the carpet. I hit my head so hard, I had a knot on the back of my head. And he finally gets me to wake up. And when I come to, realize, dude, when I came to him, like, don't hit me, no. Don't hit me. I was scared to death of this dude, scared to death of my father, bro. And when they sent me back to school, when I showed up at the teacher class and she saw the knot on the back of my head, because she had never talked to my dad before. It was the first time she interacted with my dad. So yeah, man, she looked like she thought she was gonna have to call CPS or some shit because, yeah, I was just told. I was like, why'd you talk to him? Why'd you do that? You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Like, yeah. So my relationship with him was it was stressful, bro. He wasn't, I think you do the best with what you have, right? And so he was raised in a certain environment. And he's very much of the streets and did a whole lot of wild shit. My grandmother would tell me wild stories about shit my pops did in high school. Like he knocked a dude eye out the socket, punched the dude in the face one time, punched him in his temple, knocked his eye out the socket. I'm like, yo, y'all let him put hands on me? I'm like, yo, y'all need to be calling cops anytime he raised a voice. He was a scary dude. So yeah, man, it was just stressful shit, but yeah, there's another story, but I'll be here all day.
Did he beat the cancer?
Nah. He ended up passing. When he came back home, it was fall of my 4th grade year of elementary, and then he died by March during that same school year. So if he came home, it was late September, early October. And then into the next year, he had passed by March. But they had told him right before the winter time that he wasn't going to, they expected him to only make it. They gave him in November, I want to say they gave him maybe 2 months tops. So he lived longer than they thought. But yeah.
With that memory of your father, how do you talk about him to your daughters, and how do you, how does that affect your parenting style?
Great. Yeah, that's a great question. So probably, one, I try not to rely so heavily on intimidation to get them to do what they're supposed to do. Right. And that's tough, as a parent, a lot of times, because, you want to just be able to tell your child to do something once, but they're children. And 9 times out of 10, what you're asking them to do isn't necessarily what they want to do. And the younger they are, they don't understand that. What do you mean I got to stop what I'm doing? You see how much fun these Legos are? You know what I'm saying? I want to play with these Legos. Yeah, it's tough for them to understand that, they need to stop doing this thing at this particular moment sometimes to do these other things. And so, I just try to be patient. But at the same time, like, you know, just letting them know that disrespect isn't tolerated. So I don't beat my kids. I don't put hands on my children, man. Like the extent of what I've done. I think I had to spank like my oldest daughter like one time. And it's like, you know, every parent has taken their child to a mall before or a department store, and you know how that goes when they're like 2 to 3. That's it's an invite for them to wild out, B. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? And so I had to take her up out of that joint real quick and tear them legs up. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I've said it in like about 3 different languages, and I'm sweating right now. I'm out of options, dog. I've explored every option for the last 30 minutes. But I don't, you know, I try not to discipline them in that way. When they were really small, or like at the age that my youngest is now, the most I'll like if she keeps grabbing something or whatever, and after I've told her like 4 or 5 times, I'll pop her hand like a little pluck real quick just to get her to stop. But you know, I understand what physical, like that trauma that comes with the physical side of it. You know what I mean? Like the lasting effects of that, and how people deal with it. It got me to a point where it didn't so much make me jumpy, like when I felt like those type of altercations were coming, but like, because, you know, with my father and my mom, I felt like I had to deal with it. You know what I mean? So like when I would get into physical, like actual fights as a teenager and stuff like that, I ain't wait to see what you was going to do. Once it was clear that you meant me harm, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm out here to try and draw first blood, dog. Like, just because, you know, it's when you're on the receiving end of that from people who love you, and how scary, even these are people who love you, and that shit was scary. Like, it was like, my dad was a scary dude. And when you know what my dad has physically done to people, like, you know, like, without putting too much, like, my dad is actually called bodies and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just based on the stories my uncle has told me. So like, knowing what this dude has done in the world, or did in the world, you know, and when you got somebody kind of like that, just, you know, you feel helpless. Like, you got to take it. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? He got the burner in the couch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I'm going to get shot, but I don't know.
My daddy's stringer bell. What the hell you want me to
do? What are you supposed to do? So, yeah, man. So, like, it's just, I just knew that it's like, I knew I didn't want my children to fear me. You know what I mean? I knew I had, I'm blessed with this voice. So I know how to use my voice to get them to tighten up. And 9 times out of 10, that works. It works most of the time. And so I'm blessed that I don't have to get so extreme with the discipline. And, you know, these little girls aren't giving us hell, man. We definitely got lucky with the 2 kids we got blessed with, you know.
You learned to look. You learn to parent with your eyes, man.
Yeah, the look. and it's an important thing about like supporting your partner, right? Like, sometimes your kids, they test the waters with each of you to see how much they can get away with. And like my oldest, because she's at that preteen age now, middle school, you know, like she will sometimes say stuff like rarely to me, but like sometimes with her mom. And if I'm present, you know, I check that shit super fast. You know what I mean? Just because it's just like, look, I wouldn't let someone in the world take that tone with her. And look, I'm definitely not going to let you do that with your mom. You know what I mean? So she know I got her back, and vice versa. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, you know, so I try to be different in that way, and you know, really just. Unfortunately, a lot of what I learned from my dad was what not to do. But one of the things I did pick up from him that has been useful, but I still find a different approach. I used to struggle with STR words when I was younger. My mom's super country, so she didn't say strawberry, she say strawberries, right? And then it's like, scrape, I'm going across the street, like all that shit, right? So when he first came back and he heard me talking like that, oh boy, he would make me stand by his armchair. And for like 30 minutes every day when I got home from school, I had to say STR words, right? Like, that was it. And I mean, dog, like, before I got a snack, before I sat down, Like I took my stuff off and stood by that chair for 30 minutes, standing up, just practicing STR words. And like, I mean, you know, I didn't enjoy that shit at all, but it helped. And my youngest, not my youngest, my oldest daughter struggles with TH words, like pronouncing them sometimes like F. So she has to really focus when she's talking and using certain words so she doesn't do it. Because if she's not thinking about it while she's talking, she reverts back to how she's saying. So I do something that's loosely inspired by what he did with me. It's just more playful. Like she'll be in the middle of talking and then she'll go to say something and then I'll hear that F come out instead of the TH. And I'm like, hey, did what? And then she'll say it again. And then her face changes because she realizes what's happening. Oh, it's I think as opposed to think. She'll be like, I think. And I'm like, there you go. And then she'll carry on with a conversation. So it's a lot less, you know, and it's not stressful. I don't want it to be learning shouldn't be this stressful thing all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that's beautiful. I applaud that. And substantial.
Thank you, brother.
This has been substantial. I'll be punny as hell. Dad jokes rule here on this podcast.
Yes.
Man, thank you so much.
Thank you,
everybody
brother.
Listening, go out and get the book She Sees. It's really great. It's beautiful. Go listen to the accompanying soundtrack. And you know, you can go to Bandcamp to buy it and give one more time. Let us know where we can get the book, the album, the t-shirt, the hats, all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can either go to our company store, which is subartandmusic.com/store. Or you can get it on Bandcamp. That's substantial.bandcamp.com/merch. Appreciate you, brother.
Perfect. All right, man. Have a happy Father's Day. And
you too, man.
Fathers Who Bother with Jerry Barrow and my guest Substantial. Everybody have a great day. If you're enjoying Fathers Who Bother, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Fathers Who Bother and Twitter at Fathers Who Be. Thanks.